All right, everyone. So we are joined with Flose Boursiquot of Let It Flows, the amazing blog, which I read as often as I can. It's just the most transparent, beautiful, creative pieces of writing that I've ever been able to digest. And I actually know personally the blogger who's behind it all. So please, please, please welcome me in introducing Flose Boursiquot.
Well, thank you for that beautiful introduction. I do appreciate you reading it and commenting and digesting and also reflecting with me. And thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's an honor for me. I definitely have an appreciation for writing. I love the way that you use words to depict so transparently what you're going through. It sounds like it's cathartic for you, like you're going through an actual journey that you're taking us on. And I could relate to so many of the things that you write about, even though I've never been through those specific experiences. It feels like, oh my God, she is me. So I know that everybody who reads it probably feels the same way. What's some of the feedback that you get?
Yeah, that's incredible feedback. And I think that's what I want out of it. And I think a lot of times when I post something, I do get similar feedback where people say, this is what I needed today. Thank you for posting this. Or this is what I'm feeling after reading this. So it's a mixed. The feedback is usually very reflective, which I think I like, because then it forces me to reflect even more about this thing that I've just written and this thing that I'm feeling or felt last week or a couple of weeks ago. So the feedback is usually reflective and it's positive. I sometimes get constructive criticism, and sometimes I'll send it out to a good friend slash old teacher and say, hey, what do you think about this? And I have a good organizer friend who I sometimes send posts to as well, and a writer friend who'll give me like more constructive feedback, but even that feedback is positive. So then it's more encouraging for me to continue writing and to continue exploring what it is I'm feeling.
Yeah, so you don't get any haters like bashing you and making you want to stop what you do so well.
Not yet. If I ever link to something on Twitter, like I'll get trolls on Twitter who'll be like, la la la, and I'll just be like, block. Because I do take feedback very seriously, and I do critically process what people say to me, and I am very self-critical. So if I get something that I know isn't constructive, or I don't feel like is constructive after I've digested it, then I want to make sure that I don't put myself in position to continue getting those negative messages. So I choose people who I know will be constructive with me and who will be honest, but not mean.
Right.
Because then it doesn't encourage me to continue doing what I'm doing.
Absolutely. I think that's great advice for all of us.
Yeah.
Like choose your energy, choose the people around you, choose not to say that you want people in your circle who are only going to tell you good things, but you want people who are coming from a spirit of, I have your best interest at heart.
Absolutely.
And I really want to see you win.
Right.
So I'm telling you this from a place of love. Versus I'm just gonna put you down just because I can.
I'm just some stranger who's just gonna write something negative and not really care about my growth and not care about my improvement and that kind of stuff, for sure.
Yeah, that's really important, especially because I think so many of us have something to say or something to put out in the world, and that's what stops us, is that fear of what people will say, that fear that people won't like us. And what it sounds like you're saying is that the people who are for you and who ride for you, like you listen to them. And if, there's individuals who are not of the same accord, it's okay. And the ones who are nasty, you're blocking them.
Right, absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. So let's just backtrack a little bit. I want you to tell everybody a little bit about who you are. Like, what brought you to this point where you decided, I'm going to write a blog? Like, is it something you were thinking about for a long time? When did you start? What is your process behind writing?
Yeah, my journey with writing is a journey in that I've been writing. I think my earliest poem is from 3rd grade, where, my English was still not where it's at today, but I still have a lot of learning of the English language to do. So I've been writing for a long time, and I've had some traumatic experiences as a child, and I process, and I think writing in a lot of ways helps me process what I felt or what I'm feeling. I also have anxiety, so I think a lot of times writing really brings me down and says, Flose, I'm here for you. Tell me what you're feeling. So in a lot of ways, writing is my comfort. And in a lot of ways, writing is very vulnerable for me. And the experience with writing for a long time was very personal. I never wanted to share my poetry. And I never wanted to share my essays or whatever it was. And then I met a professor in high school. His name is Merle Leonard, and he's really very much just a friend right now, and I love him dearly. And he helped me, process those feelings and thoughts into writing and to continue writing. Even if it sucks, you keep going. But most recently with the blog, I've seen lots of awesome people have blogs, and I always said, I'm gonna start a blog, but I just never did. And one of my supervisors when I worked at A&E Television Networks, she was phenomenal. Her name is Loren. And I went on her Facebook page one day and she had this blog that she started. And it was so fun. And it's very much like her. She has a very fun personality. She's also a great person that I tag if I have something that's happening in my life and I need some advice and help. And I saw that and I was like, man, Loren is doing this. Like, I can do it. And she's cool and fun. And I just wrote a first post and I liked it. And then and it just pretty much went from there. And I was like, I have a lot to say. And I definitely am one of those people who has a lot to say about everything. And I give unsolicited advice. So doing it through a blog, I think is nice because people don't have to listen to it if they don't want. They can choose to access it. They can choose to respond to it. Whereas in person, I don't always do a great job processing and realizing when I shouldn't say things. And so the blog is a filter. So
yeah, beautiful. And so, some of the things that you write, it's really like poetry. Some of it is, it almost feels like creative writing, like you're telling a story about someone else. And then some of it is just very much, a commentary on what's going on in the world. And, through all of it, I see and I hear you. What's your favorite type of thing to write?
Oh, that is such a good question. My favorite thing to write. I think my favorite thing to write is honest, which most of my posts are that. But I think my favorite thing to write, I think you hit it on the money, is my writing is poetic. Or for me, it feels poetic. And I hope when people read it, it has a sense of poetry to it. Sometimes it's not structured. So I think my favorite thing to write is something that's honest. It's real. It really captures and articulates what it is I'm feeling. But not only that it offers some sort of outlet for folks to feel themselves and then to feel okay to respond or okay to send me a Facebook message or a text and say, this is what I'm also feeling.
Yeah.
So, my favorite thing to write is honest. It's poetic, but it's also inviting and it really articulates the human experience.
Do you ever feel like you're being too honest, like you're being too raw? And, after you hit that send button, you're like, oh my God, maybe it was too much.
Yeah. I have hit the delete button twice on 2 posts, and one of them actually was most recently, and I talk about childhood trauma and what it is I've gone through, and I also talked a little bit about trauma and how men approach me today and what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. And I talk about my own sexuality and that I am a sexual being and that there are certain things I desire, but I also have boundaries and things that I don't want entering my space, and how it's inappropriate how, certain men approach me. And I think I hit delete on that because a lot of the stuff with my trauma I'm not ready to deal with. And I think a lot of it I haven't processed. And as much as I do want the blog to be a post where a place where people can go and process with me, I know there isn't necessarily a clear journey with dealing with my trauma yet. So I think maybe it's because I felt a sense of a little bit too vulnerable, which I think is a little bit ironic because I think the blog is meant to be a place where I can be vulnerable and people can be vulnerable with me. But I think there is a lot of fear and insecurity in dealing with the trauma that I endured as a child and how that plays a role in how I love today and how that plays a role in how I interact with people in a more intimate way. And I realized this is really, really intimate and I'm not ready to deal with this. And I think part of it also is when you deal with things like trauma and sexual trauma, especially, there are other people at play. There are other players. And that calls into bringing in those other players into the blog.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds almost like apologetic for people who may have hurt me, and apologetic to people who may be inappropriate with me, or men who may think it's, okay to send me 5 text messages after I say this relationship is not appropriate and I am uncomfortable with how you are speaking to me. I think I almost felt like I'm bringing those stories into it, and I didn't yet feel as if it was complete.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of my posts, even if they are very vulnerable and open and honest, they somehow feel complete.
Mm-hmm.
And they somehow, if they're not complete, they're part of a journey.
Mm-hmm.
And for that, I just wasn't ready for it.
Yeah.
So
There's like a level of responsibility that you also have when it comes to what you put out there,
right?
For yourself as well as for the people around you.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's great that you understand the weight of what you're putting out.
Right.
That it could affect people.
And once it's out there,
it's out there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's a really, really great insight. Yeah. So what would something be? Because I know that, your blog tends to be on the serious side,
mm-hmm.
and, people are very much, I think the people who read your blog might be a little bit more on the self-reflective end of things, and
mm-hmm.
Very much thinkers
mm-hmm.
and feelers of the world. But what would be something that surprises people about you?
Something that surprises people about me in general, or
yeah, just anything.
I think I have a very reflective and insightful and intuitive side, but I also have a very silly, immature, sometimes irresponsible side. Mm-hmm. And I think I don't always make good decisions, but hopefully that wouldn't surprise people, because after all, I am human.
Mm-hmm.
But I think maybe the more silly and like Flose doesn't always have her shit together kind of side.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, I have had 3 jobs in the last 6 months. So it's not always about having everything together. And I think when I stop and break it down for folks, I don't have it all together. And, I left my job in Miami with PACT because I realized that space wasn't right for me and what I want out of work. And I went on and worked for the Democratic Party. And I said, whoa, this is really not what I want as far as my values and morals and stuff like that, and how I think folks, should interact in work situations and treat people. And then I went on and worked for Jeff Clemens, and I loved it. But it was, a short-term contract, and now I'm working with Move On, and I love that for a lot of the reasons that I haven't loved other jobs. And so I think people would be surprised that I don't have it all together, mm-hmm. that I'm going through a lot, that I'm exploring things, that, I'm leaving things behind. I'm sometimes irresponsible. So I think that maybe might surprise folks.
Yeah.
So surprise.
All right. So what are some other mediums that you use to self-express?
Other mediums that I use to self-express. The blog for sure. And of course I don't post everything I write. So paper.
Yeah.
And I write my thoughts down on everything. And I have so many of them in a day. My mind's always going, and I'm feeling, and things make me angry, and things make me really happy. Mm-hmm. So sometimes I even record things in my car if I'm driving, and mm-hmm. ideas coming to me and I don't have a way of getting it down. Yeah. I'll record something very quickly. So those, and social media, I guess I'm of the millennial age where social media is a big thing, but I also love it. And I think in some ways I'm a little bit addicted to things like Twitter and Snapchat and Instagram. So social media is a big medium, but I guess besides that, people, like I process a lot of things and deal with life in general by conversing with people. Mm-hmm. And you in a lot of ways have been that for me as well. So
yeah,
hope that answers that question.
Yeah. I was secretly hoping that you'd tell me you know how to play some instrument or something. But it's not good. Jogging. Okay.
And nature, if that answers that. Nature helps me process a lot of things also, and being outside. So that's also a way.
Yeah. No, I feel you on that. So last but not least, I want to know what your vision is for this blog. Where do you want to see Let It Flows take you over the course of the next couple years?
My vision for this blog. I mean, I recently nominated myself for South by Southlawn and asked other people to do the same. So I think my vision for Let It Flows is seeing it still as something that's very personal. Like, I would never want it to grow. Maybe I would, who knows, to grow into like a major blog where my voice isn't still part of it. Like, if it became something as big as like Blavity or something like that, I still want it to be a personal space for me. And I want other people who engage with it to also have a really deep and personal connection to it. And I think Let It Flows for me, I'm realizing, is becoming more of a brand. I mean, it works very nicely that my name is Flose. So I think, you know, if I somehow end up in consulting, which I'm also really interested in as far as a career path, if I become a writer, like Let It Flows just works. So I think for me, if I, in the next couple of years, I would still hope that I'm writing for this blog, but that it's, you know, reaching a lot more people, that it's bringing others in. I could also see it as a space for other writers who want to start out, you know, to post stuff on there if it does get to a place where it is big enough where lots of people are going and reading it. And I hope it does. And, you know, if I'm at a place where my career is booming, that's something that I will add to Let It Flows.
Yeah. So I'm going to help you out a little bit. I'm going to take out the word if, and we're going to put when.
When.
Right? And instead of hope, we're going to say it will happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what you want. That's your vision, and it's just a matter of time. So we're going to make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, great. Thank you. Yeah, I think you hit at something that also might surprise people, is that sometimes I don't always trust and believe in the things I want. So that's true. When Let It Flows gets to a place where it's reaching a wider audience, and when it gets to a place where I very easily can go to conferences and things with other big folks who are blogging and big names who are blogging, I do want it to be a space where other bloggers who are just starting out can go and, you know, have their stuff on there, but also that it still remains a personal space for me, because it is so personal and it came out of really personal experiences. And when I have a career in consulting, I do want it to be a place where folks can go there and also do business that way.
Yeah. I love it.
Thank you.
I love it. And you know how much I love you and I appreciate you. I just can't wait. I can't wait when it does blow up. But also right now, I love that it's a space where so many people can see themselves in you. And I honor you for that, because it's not easy to go to those places. It's not always comfortable, but you do it time and time and time again. And I look forward to every time I see that post coming up. You know, I read and I try to give you feedback. And, you know, it's just an honor to know you.
Yeah, thank you, Jen. And it's an honor to know you. And if y'all don't know, Jen is a therapist. And she's helped me get through some things. And I really honor and appreciate our relationship, and couldn't have found someone better to help me find home in Miami. Like, you invited me into your circle and made Miami-Dade feel a lot more like home for me when I was struggling with everything. And am I in the right place? Did I choose the right career? And you're incredible. So if y'all don't know, hit up Jen.
Thank you. All right, guys. So that concludes our blog post for today. And I just want to encourage you to visit and subscribe to Flose's blog. So it's Let It Flows. That's LetItFlose.com.
Let It Flows at WordPress.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Let It Flows at WordPress. So it's letitflows.wordpress.com. And, you know, go through the history of everything that she's written, and you won't be sorry. So thank you so much for taking time to hear me out and hear Flose out today. And we'll keep in touch. Bye.